Let's talk now about this, a little more about this war against ISIS overseas and at homes with Senator James Risch. He's a Republican of Idaho. He's a leading member of the Foreign Relations and Intelligence Committee. Senator, thanks for being with us. And
thank you.
Can you shed any more light on these three recent ISIS arrests, this couple from a small Mississippi town and this New Jersey man?
Well, I think probably the best way to look at this is to step back and look at the overall picture. There's been well over 50 arrests made this year in 2015, falling into generally two different categories. And these are arrests by the FBI. One is a category of people who actually have been, at the very least, inspired by ISIS and have taken steps towards an attack right here in the United States. In the other camp are people who have either offered assistance to ISIS or, in fact, have planned and actually moved toward going to the Middle East to fight with ISIS, which, of course, the newest couple from Mississippi fall into. But this is going on right now. We've got a robust program here in the United States to uncover these, and the FBI has been very good, very diligent, and very successful this year in both of those categories.
Do you worry that the second category you mentioned, someone who's been inspired and wants to provide support or maybe travel overseas, do you worry this is the new face of the radicalized individual in U.S., a former homecoming princess and a soon-to-be grad student?
Yeah. Well, I think that there's no question that the people you're going to see may be very, very ordinary people, as these two are. They're very young. One was just out of her teens. The other one was 22. Young people, a lot of times, do really stupid things. And this certainly falls in that category. Americans, whether they're young, old, whatever, who are duped by what ISIS is offering as solutions to world problems or satisfaction for an internal peace that a person might have. Anybody who swallows that stuff is way out there and not very smart.
Now, part of this was easy to track because you're talking about this young woman who posted things on social media. I mean, it's public. What do you do if it's not public? If someone doesn't put something on social media, how do you find them?
Well, you know, really, we don't talk about the various programs that we have publicly for obvious reasons. But there are ways and means, and the most important thing is that most of the people who do get involved in this are very proud of it and glad to tell their friends and glad to tell the world as to what they're doing. Most of it falls into that category. There are people who you don't hear anything from, and then you've got to use other ways and means to root those out.
All right, Senator Risch, stand by. I have many more questions for you after a quick break, trying to figure out where an entire squad of U.S.-trained Syrian rebels went. We'll see what Senator Risch can tell us in just a moment. We are waiting for Donald Trump's campaign event in Michigan right now. Let's turn back to Senator James Risch. He is a top member of the Foreign Relations and Intelligence Committees. We are talking about successes and failures in the war against ISIS as the U.S. prepares to launch new airstrikes from Turkey. And we understand, Senator Risch, that this entire group of about 60 U.S.-trained Syrian rebels, the first class really of its kind, have scattered, the ones who were not captured. How did the U.S. lose track of all of them?
Well, you know, when this thing started out, there were a lot of us that had really serious reservations about that. It is so complicated there, which groups are fighting which. And what they did is they wanted to pick out or identify these so-called moderate Syrians that they could use to fight ISIS. The difficulty is that most of the Syrians don't want to fight ISIS nearly as much as they want to fight Assad, the regime that's in power there. And so you train them up, you give them guns, you do all these things, and they're all ready to fight, but they're ready to fight Assad, and they're not that excited about fighting ISIS. And it's look, this is a complex group of people who are separated into religious sects and ethnic groups, and combinations of both of those. And a lot of them over the years have fought each other. And so it is really, really difficult. Look, there's a group there that we've been preaching the administration forever. Look, let's get tied to the Kurds. They've been our friends. They've taken really good care of us. They fought alongside of us. Not only that, these guys win. They're really good fighters, and they've proven themselves over and over again there. The administration, of course, feels that they have to, anything they do with the Kurds that are in Iraq, they have to go through Baghdad, which to me is absolute nonsense. And then, of course, you have the political problems in Turkey, because the Turks are very squeamish about the Kurds and about the Kurds getting power.
Which is certainly, which is to say it lightly. Well, and the Kurds really have done really good things on the Syrian side of the border all along Turkey. And as a result of that, you've heard the discussion about this safe zone they're trying to set up. And of course, that is what has been the catalyst for these F-16s moving into Turkey from Italy. And I want to ask you about that. Are you concerned that basing bombers in Turkey, this is a relatively new announcement here, that this could elevate security risks for Americans who are in Turkey?
Well, there's no question about that. Even more so, it probably elevates the security concerns for the Turkish government themselves. Now that they are being much more aggressive or positive about actually engaging, they're going to wind up being a target themselves, and they undoubtedly understand that, but they feel that the risks are worth it because of the issues that they're having to face with ISIS.